Hello. Let me share my screen here. Okay. This is a demo video for CSE525 Spring 2020, individual assignment number 2 for Adrian Pantea. Okay, let me just jump in. The first part of this demo is going to be going through the demo of the required functionality, and then the second part is going to be going through. All right, so here's the first part. I'm launching the Android Studio, and I have my app running. Let me get this virtual sensor out. Okay, so the accelerometer data here. So I'm going to click run, and you'll see the graph start updating. On the bottom, you have the seconds here, and then the labels. All right, so I'm going to do some little accelerometer data updates. Okay, and then I'm going to stop it. Okay, so that was what, 12 seconds worth of data where stuff's moving around. The Z value is magenta. I believe the X value is green, and the Y value is red line. All right, so you see the seconds passing by, and now you see the -10 to 10 on the labels. Okay, so this data right here, I stopped it from updating. Okay, I'm gonna upload this. And here's my Flash server running. So I'm gonna click upload, you'll see the change there. Okay, there's the uploading, database uploaded successfully toaster message. And that's the file right here that just got uploaded. Now let's take a look at that inside of SQLite, okay? See what that looks like, that file. Inside of SQLite Online here, I can open that DB. And you'll notice there's a file called test4451 mail. That's because test is the patient name, 44 was the patient ID, 51 was the age, and male was the sex. That was the requirements, the table name. And you saw that we had, what, 12 seconds of data. Now, if we open that table, I'm going to do a select. You see this 12 seconds of data, 12 rows, and here's the data on it, right? The last update we had was what? The Z value was -1.89, which is over here. You could see it displayed 1.9, 9.6, and -0.9. There's the 9.58. You can see it's rounded, and then the 0.9, -0.9. Okay, so this represents the database that we just uploaded. No, we don't think we need to see that anymore. Let me minimize that. Okay. So at this point, we could. I'm not gonna download because I just finished uploading and we saw what I uploaded. I'm gonna click run again. Remember, that was at 12 seconds, that last one. Now we're back to running again. All right, we're back to listening to weird stuff here. Okay, we're back to listening to events. I think this also does the accelerate. Yeah, that does that too. Okay. So that's enough of showing the accelerometer stuff. So I'm gonna say stop. And then I'm gonna download. Now when I download, I'm gonna get those last 10 rows from that database, and that'll be displayed on the screen. And you'll see the access over here update with the last data. We won't be at 36 seconds anymore. It'll start from where we last updated, okay? Remember, that was 12, so I'm gonna click download. Remember how that looked like, that shape? And there was we're at 12 seconds again, we started again. So that's what the download was, right? We downloaded from the server, and then we updated all our values to be the last 10 rows from what we uploaded on the server. Okay, so I stopped it, and that's enough of the requirements. Okay, I'm gonna stop this. Now let's get into looking at the code. All right, the Flask server, very simple. We have the get, which does the download, which is basically just taking the file, that's adpantea.db, and then here was the post where we just save that file. Okay, we save it right in the same directory we're running in, so that's the Flask server. All right, let's take a look at a little bit about the where should we start? The sensor handler class is very simple. On create, it registers a listener with 1 million microseconds, which is equal to 1 second. It doesn't actually make it so it gives you an update every once. You have to do more work for that. So on sensor change, we want to make sure that we are not updating more than once every second. So that's what this does. It looks at the time elapsed. If it's been over uh, equal to or over 1,000 milliseconds, then we're going to do the update. And basically, what the update is just sending a broadcast to this intent. Okay, intent action with the timestamp X, Y, and Z value. All right, so that's the sensor handler class. And the main activity class over here, where should I start here? Well, here's where we're listening for that same string you were looking at, that intent value action is where we get that, where we register for the broadcast listener. We get the values that we put in there, the X, Y, and Z and timestamp. We add that data to the graph, and then we update the database, basically. So those two things are happening every second. All right, now let me step back and let's go through this main activity. I hold a reference to the buttons here so I can disable them. There's a graph view, and here's some database stuff. Here's the data, okay, vertical labels, horizontal labels, and the data. So what happens on the, let's say when you click start, all right, we initialize the graph view. This is the same as assignment 1, except now what the difference is we create a database, and here's where we start that service that I just showed. That was the sensor handler class, okay? So there's the create database. When you click button stop, the important part is it just updates as Boolean, is updating graph, which tells this class whether or not to actually update the graph with data from the sensor. All right, and then when you do, that was a stop. The upload is upload to DB, and then the download is download database, and then it sets that is updating graph to true, which basically simulates a start button. So when you click download, it downloads, and then it also simulates clicking the start button. All right, at the end of this, create is where we do the register broadcast listener. Okay, so that was a create, and then here's initializing the graph data. I just extracted this because we're calling it more than once. You already saw the register broadcast listener. I dated a graph. This is called from from the register broadcast listener, right? That calls a data graph here, and then so inside of here is where we're just basically moving the arrays, shifting them all to the left one, and adding the new value to the right of the array. That's how you get the graph. Looks like it's passing time. All right, and then let's see, what else can I talk about here? The create database. I think this is pretty much the same for everyone. I'm creating inside of this folder on the SD card, I'm creating this database called apantea.db. Here's where we create the table name, which is the patient name with the patient ID, age, and sex. All right, I dropped the table. I don't want to screw around with whether it's an existing table or not. I just drop whatever the table is and create the new table. All right, so that's creating the database, and then updating the database is insert into with these values. All right, let's see the upload. So the next thing to talk about is the upload and the download, right? When you click upload, we get a byte array of our current database. All right, we put that in a parameter of the request, and then here's where we do a post with that parameter to that post URL, okay? And then that's pretty much it. That is the upload. Now the download is more complicated because in the download, what we want to do is we want to do a get, which we do the get right here, client.get. But after we do the get, okay, we want to take and override the current database we have, which is what we're doing in here. So we just got the get. Now we get the new bytes that we just got, all right, and then we copy bytes into our file. So we copy the bytes from the server we just received into the file we have, and then we do this fetch data from downloaded DB, which basically what that's doing is taking those opening up that database that we just downloaded from the server, taking the last 10 rows and overriding that of the arrays or X, Y, and Z values, okay? So let's take a look at that method, fetch data from downloaded DB. Fetch data from downloaded DB. Now we're going to get the last 10 here, the descending limit 10. We're going to order by time step ascending. That's how we get the last 10 values, okay? And then we loop through those 10, and basically every time we loop through those 10, we update our arrays, X, Y, and Z arrays, okay? And then once we have that, our arrays are updated. Okay, so X, Y, Z values and horizontal labels are updated. We redraw the graph and set that, remember that Boolean is updating graph, which tells it whether or not to actually update the display or not. That's it for main activity. The only thing to talk about is graph view. You notice that in my graph view, I didn't have 3 different graphs. I had 1 graph. And the reason and the way that was, I had to change the API a little bit. All right, so on the set values now, I don't just pass 1 array, I pass 3 arrays, X, Y, and Z. Okay, and then those arrays are here. So here's where I update X, Y, and Z. X is green, that's the green. Y is red, here's the red. And Z is magenta, here's magenta. I had to do 3 different loops to show those lines. Now, one of the things that kind of screwed me up a lot is the vertical labels on the graph. I was having issues. I was trying to dynamically compute these, the mix and the min values, and it just didn't work out. It was like ugly. The best way really is to do this is to have it fixed. So I just said, okay, let's just make it max 10 and then the minimum -10. Now you could have accelerometer data values that are above 10 and below -10, and that's fine. But it looks way better if I just fix these for now. For the purposes of the demo, I think it's way better to do this. So basically, that was the changes to graph view and the changes to main activity.java. Now there was a manifest file. Of course, we needed to have this to read and write to the SD card, and this to do the HTTP put and get. And the last thing to talk about was activity, but I don't think I should go through that. I don't think I need to go through that. Okay, so we just went through the code. We went through the demo, and that is it. Thanks for watching.